Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I am TJ Whitehead, Powers Taken Not Given, joined by an individual I have meant to interview for well over a year now, Monty from New American Wasteland. How are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, I'm good. I've never done anything like this before. Okay, so
Oh, you know what? That's funny. I just assumed you had. I don't know why. I didn't ask. So, yeah, really? So you've never done any type of one-on-one interview about politics or anything?
nope, have not. I do a lot of voice channel stuff. I talk to a lot of people, but as far as moment to moment, face to face talks, never done it. So you're the first.
Oh boy, I feel honored. I feel special. All right, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so that's really interesting. I've been meaning to, I don't know when I first ran across your content. I feel like it's a long time ago. But I was surprised to find out we were mutuals maybe 6 months ago or something. I can't really remember, which made me happy. I'm always glad to see that. So it's I feel honored to have you on. Thank you for joining.
No, man, it's cool being here. I see your stuff a lot. I like the takes you get on stuff. I appreciate it too because it makes me feel like I'm not alone out there as a lefty vet. So
Yeah. So I do a show with John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. We do a StreamYard show on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday. And I feel like we've had a good half dozen leftist vets come on the show. And sometimes I didn't even know they were vets. We had Buff Anime Nerd on a few weeks back. I had John invite. Oh, you know him? Yeah. So John invited him on. I didn't know he was a vet. So it's always fun to run across that. But there are more of us than people would probably guess. I did a video a while ago asking for, you saw it. You saw it. I'm pretty sure, actually, I know you saw it. Yeah.
I think I did.
Yeah, for lefty vets and everything. I want to try to make this a recurring theme because I don't know about your time in the military, but there were more than most people would probably guess the military is something like 80-20 Republicans or right wing, but it's nothing like that at all.
No, it's like 50-50. I remember distinctly coming in to the Navy like a shithead libertarian, right? Can I curse on this show? Is that allowed?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I came into the Navy as like a shithead libertarian. I remember having dudes from Maine, dudes from New York, dudes from other places that weren't rural America, right? Just going how can you say this stuff, ho? Like Airman Ho, what the fuck are you saying right now? And having those views challenged was really key. So there's a lot of them. I hope there still are. I don't know how things are now. It's been 5 years. So
yeah, well, I'd imagine it's still a healthy amount. I don't imagine the number's gotten significantly different, honestly. And we'll get into that actually. But before we start about the military stuff, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, where you grew up, what your primary political and cultural influences were?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll spark notes it here, right? So,
sure.
I'm the son of two immigrants, Cuban and Vietnamese, right? So dad comes over during the war with his dad who had fought in the war. My grandparents from Cuba had escaped Cuba before Castro took over. And we got here, and then military service was always something that was implied that I should do. But on the Vietnamese side, right? My grandpa was Army. He was a lieutenant colonel. He never talked about what he did much, but he was some kind of body stacker in Vietnam. I don't ask questions past that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then I tried college out. I tried to do different things. I grew up in California and then ended up living in Idaho for my adolescent to adult years. And then had always been trying to kind of get into the military. And then like a lot of people, I was scared, right? I was scared of that commitment. And then I ended up getting to the military, went Navy, did Navy for a while. I got to be aviation, which is rad. And then I got my golden ticket because a stupid accident happened. And now I'm med retired 100%.
Oh boy.
So,
all right.
Yeah. Culturally, I don't know if you can tell, TJ. Culturally, I'm pretty whitewashed. Okay.
All right.
Culturally, both my ethnic families came over and they were like, we're American now, right? And then as far as politically goes, I went from libertarian because I was a gun nut and a gun nerd for a really long time. And then once I got into the military, I'm sure we'll talk about this later. A lot of things changed for me because I was like, wow, benefits are nice. So.
Yeah, yeah, okay. We will get to it later. So
yeah.
I just want to cover a couple of things you mentioned there. You talked about Idaho and everything. Idaho is one of those states that I often forget exists. I forget Idaho's even up there. In fact, The first time I met anyone who had actually been to Idaho, I was dating a girl who was her family. She was Micronesian, and they she lived in Twin Falls, Idaho. Her family, and I
Oh
said,
no.
"Oh, what is that? Where you live?"
I know exactly where that is.
Well, yeah, and I said, I said, that seems strange to me. I wouldn't have guessed that there was like a Micronesian or immigrant population at all in Idaho or something. She says, "Oh no, there's lots of immigrants that live in Twin Falls." I was like, "Really?" That kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting that. But what was the experience like as the second person who I've talked to who has been to Idaho?
Oh man, so it was really crazy because I was going in to Idaho, coming from California, where like generally we all like everyone is used to a mixing pot in California,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like me being like brown skinned and then like using my Huntington Beach, California surfer accent. That's not weird, right? Coming to Idaho, that was weird for them, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
what was weird for me was like I was like, why are you guys talking to me differently? Like I'm not used to this. Like I'm used to like it not being a problem. And of course it was a problem. And Twin Falls is cool. I actually got to live there for a while because there is an immigrant population. And I don't know if they still do the program with the politics now, but we had this cool thing where, you know, the government would cut us money if we took in refugees. So we had a lot of Nigerians, a lot of Nepalese. We got a lot of, I believe, Iraqi refugees as well.
Mm.
It was pretty cool. I got to work with quite a diverse population when I did like call center work here, and it was pretty neat. And then obviously around 2016, a lot of things changed. And now like it's not these good people coming over and doing jobs and like being part of our community. Now it's like they're invading and taking everything from us, of course. So
Yeah, yeah, the xenophobia. Yeah, that sounds more like what I would have guessed Idaho would have been like. I was surprised that it was chill for as long as it was, but yeah. So you mentioned that you mentioned that your granddad was in the army. What made you
mhm,
choose Navy then? Because my dad was Army, and
mhm.
when I joined, there was no chance I was joining anything other than Army. I mean, not because Dad would have forced me or anything like that, but that's just what I knew, what I was comfortable with. Plus, fuck going into the Navy, man. There's no chance I would ever you would ever catch me in the middle of the ocean. I always said I don't know how I'm going to die. Like the end of TJ's story, I don't know how I will die. I do know it will not be in the ocean. It's not going to happen. You will never find me anywhere. Maybe 50 feet out, out through the beach. But outside of that, no, the ocean not happening. So what made you think about the Navy?
Oh, I mean, like, let me ask you first of all, what's the Army's best duty station?
Oh boy,
What's the
best dude.
best place you can go?
Well, I mean, I can't think of where you can't go. Let's see. I've heard that Fort Benning is that the best duty station? I wouldn't say. I really don't know. Maybe Fort Lee or it's a Pearl Harbor's the Navy one, I guess.
Pearl
But
Harbor is the Navy.
yeah, okay, all right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to be by like I went from I was in RTC Great Lakes, which doesn't really count because it was boot camp, right? And then I AIT or our version of AIT in Pensacola, Florida for like 6 months, and then I don't know if you guys have like a continuing school Army side past AIT, but did my C school Jacksonville, Florida for like another 9 months, and then it was like, oh, now you're in beautiful Pacific Northwest Washington, and then now you're deploying to Italy. That's kind of why I went Navy, but also there was this
Ah,
thing where I had grown up around enough Army to know not to do Army. Like
yeah.
when I was considering enlisting, right, I had a lot of guys who were like maybe 5 or 10 years older than me. Really cool dudes. A lot of them were National Guardsmen, and they had like a lot of them were like 13 Fox, right? I think that's Forward Observer.
Yep.
And they were like, I just got back. I had been there for a couple years. Like this was during peak war on terror in Afghanistan. And like they were like, don't do it. Just don't do it. And they're like, do anything but this, right? They were doing you wouldn't expect it now if you know the military, right? But it was like, don't do what I did. You don't need to go get like a grunt job. If you can get a cushy pogue job, go do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then really what happened was I tried to go Air Force first. And
No.
despite me being like 6'2" and then 220, which my BFI, that put me at like 15%. Like I was a pretty fit 220 pounds. They were like, no, there's no way you're getting in. You have to drop to 180, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's not happening. The Marine Corps would not give me greater than E2 pay for my college credits because for wife's home. And then like the Navy though was like, we will give you E3 right out the gate for your college credits. And then they were like, oh, you're overweight. Well, let us just tape you real quick, right? They tape my waist, they tape my neck. They're like, oh, you're good to go. And then they gave me an avionics contract, and that was done. So like that's where I ended up.
Not so. I'm not surprised to hear the Air Force had because the Air Force is small and they select whoever they want. The Air Force can be extremely picky with folks to get. I was a little shocked to hear you say that you knew better than to join the Army based on the people you knew when you talked to, but you considered the fucking Marines? Are you kidding me? Like, why?
Pedigree, their dress blues, right? Halo, all of those things that influence Marine Corps history.
Look, folks. If you have not seen the Marine Corps dress blues, specifically the enlisted dress blues, those are fantastic. Those are the best dress uniforms. But I actually had a ranking. I can't remember what I had them, but Marine enlisted uniform was number 1. And Navy officer uniform were number 2. I remember that was the ranking I had there. But you're right. And then, do you remember? Are you old enough to remember the commercial where they had with the Marine slaying a dragon? Did you ever see that commercial?
I am old enough for that one. Yeah. Well, not to like sidetrack, right? But like one of the funniest things about being in the Navy is a lot of us, my one of my best friends, Johnny, he might be watching right now. We'll get a kick out of this, but so many of us in the Navy liked to think we were the Marines, right? Like I remember hanging out with the dude, you know, he's clearly like one of those weird guys kind of thing. And he was just like, I thought he'd be shooting more guns. I thought he'd be doing more of that gun stuff, right? How come we're not learning how to like carry a rucksack and like shoot a rifle? And I was like, because that's not what the job is.
Yes,
like you're in the Navy, dude. He's like, well, how would I get that job? Like, is there like a naval infantry? I'm like, yeah, it's called the Marines.
It's called the Marines. Yeah. This isn't news or hiding from you, folks. You know, I don't know why this isn't just a shock. We had a comment. Conservator of the Ozark says, why did you join the Navy? I wanted a free vacation in Hawaii, of course. That's basically what happened. And Johnny B. Sweet said, "Rock."
There he is. That's my boy.
I love it. Yeah. So, all right, you decided to join the Navy, and I want to ask about your time and your experience in the military, because when I joined, I still had this opinion, like basically the standard opinion folks have of service members, that this is the best and the brightest, this is the finest America has to offer. And that's what I went in thinking. But I got there and very quickly realized, oh no, this is just a bunch of assholes dying to be in charge. They cannot wait to get a tiny bit of authority. They will do anything they can to get it. And especially in the beginning, like the folks who last a few years, they're generally the more competent and intelligent ones, you know, but right at the beginning, definitely, it was chaos. I was consistently underwhelmed with the people I met in the military. What was your experience?
Oh, dude, I had a pretty similar experience. So like I joined late, right? I was trying to take care of like mom and brothers and stuff for a long time, and that was holding me back from joining the military until eventually I was like, well, actually I need to go do this for the money, right? Like I need to go like take care of bills, so I'm gonna go join the Navy. When I got there, I had the same thing. I thought like only the best of the best get through, right? Like I believed what the recruiter said. I had like been reading comics like Terminal Lance. I think during the internet age, it was very easy to see like what like other soldiers, sailors, and Marines were saying about what their life was like. So you could see people saying like, yeah, it sucks, you know, like first sergeant or like your LPO or chief petty officer are all the worst people and they just want to make you miserable, right? But even then, like going in, I was like, no, people will still be cool. And like the real thing that happened was like people were cool when I was realistic about where I was, right? Like, this is not a lot of people's first choice, right? To enlist at least. And like I met a lot of dudes who were trying to just get away from a bad situation, or they knew that if they didn't go somewhere that would keep them out of trouble, they'd get into trouble kind of thing. I remember feeling very frustrated a couple times. It was actually similar to my frustration now as a nurse, where I still have that naivete of like, I go in, I'm like, yeah, we're nurses. We're going to save lives. We're going to do everything we can. And like, because I'm a new nurse, I'm still moto, right? And then the older nurse is like, yeah, like you'll get over that, son, kind of thing. So similar to you, right? Bunch of fuckheads, a lot of assholes. I met a lot of amazing people, though, right? Did
Yeah.
not did not expect to have, in my case, and maybe it's just a Navy thing, right? Like such a welcoming, like queer community, like right out the bat, though. Like that changed my life forever. So
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't. What do you mean?
So I joined like 2016 or 17. I remember like right before I joined, good old Donald Duck got elected, and like
Oh boy, rough time. Oh god, damn.
at that time I was, kid with a head up my ass, and like I'm like still on my college campus doing my last credits to get my E3. And like, there's all these people crying, and I'm like, I don't understand what's wrong with you guys. Like, why are you crying? It's just another president. And then I would later find out why, right? Like, my head would be pulled out of my ass, luckily. But going into the military, like I had some of my first exposure to queer people, trans people, right? I got to be around that, right? Like I got to have like as my work center supervisors, like gay men, lesbian women kind of thing, and immediately very welcoming, right? Like that fucking EO program that they've been trying to take away did a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really motivated me was once I was sitting there, seeing that like, okay, yeah, the DoD is willing to like stick its neck out to protect these kinds of people being like, our queer community that are serving. I was like, that's cool. That motivates me to put my life on the line more,
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Now the year makes sense now. I guess like that's right. That was 2016. You said.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, say, man, I don't remember that, but yeah, okay, that makes sense actually. Yeah, so with the Marines, the Navy, you were talking about them and the rank, like they wouldn't give you the college courses or whatever in the other branches and stuff. I forgot to mention one of my major beefs I have with the Navy is how confusing the rank system is in the Navy compared to the other branches. I don't understand it. I dated a girl in the Navy for a while, and she was telling me that we have our ranks and we also have rates associated with the rank or something, and that's part of it for some reason. And they're illegible compared to every other. Yeah, it's very strange.
Well, I'm sure your Navy girl still thinks about you, so there's that, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
Also, if you want, we can play the game of I will tell you my full actual retired rank, and you can try and tell me what fucking pay grade that is.
Let's go. Let's hear it. Let's go. Let's go.
I am aviation electrician's mate, 3rd class, air warfare, petty officer, 3rd class, United States Navy. Ho, right? Or
all right. I'm gonna guess. That's an E5.
That's an E4.
God damn it! God damn it! Oh man. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
when I would talk to my friends, they'd be like, yeah, because I had friends would be like, yeah, I'm a corporal, or I'm a lance corporal, or like, oh, I just made fucking specialist or something. And be like, what did you rank? What rank did you make? And I'd be like, I'm just a water corporal. That was the easiest way to explain it.
Like, water corporal. That's good. That's good. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the time in the military, I find this fascinating with speaking to other people in the military, because you said something, I think it was backstage, about your experience, and that was the benefits. One of the, like, for those of you who don't know, the military benefits, you made a video at this a while ago, I remember, they're very good. They are very, very good. I think you said that there's really no other profession that even comes close to offering the level of benefits the military offers. And a lot of folks, unfortunately, in the United States military, they see the fact that they have free health care, that they have access to financial assistance, schools, and college education, child care assistance. I mean, stuff that you couldn't, if we had all day, we couldn't list off all the benefits that you have. That's why you're in service, not even counting what they can provide for you after you leave, and psychological care and everything. And a lot of people in the military see this and they say, that's you're goddamn right. I've earned that. I'm a big special boy and I get to have all this shit. And then there's other folks, this is what hit me, is that, wow, why doesn't everyone have this? Why doesn't everyone have access to this to make their lives a lot easier? Because the military doesn't do it because they want to be nice. They do it because they realize this helps stabilize our force. This helps takes care of problems before they ever happen. You make sure people are taken care of, and it makes the job a lot easier by improving your life. But I don't know how anyone can go through that for 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, however they're long in the military,
Mhm.
and not have that click. I don't understand it.
I think it depends on how you look at it, right? Like I meet people now still who or will just be like, yeah, medical was fucking trash all the time. I hated going to medical. Those goddamn like HMs or 68 whiskeys or whatever, they were the worst things ever. And they just don't realize that like, oh, but it was better than nothing, right? So many of our people now, like not vets, but like everywhere, are dealing with like, well, I sure wish I had something, right? And like I think for a lot of people who are in or who have like a lot of bitterness about being in, uh, they have the I hate everything glasses on, right?
Yep.
Like I hate everything. I hated the military. Fuck the military, right? And then those are the same people who will flip and be like, I miss it. I'd go back in a second if I would, because like I would too. Like I won't even fucking joke. I would too. Like, um, but and that was one of the things that radicalized me was like being in the military, seeing how nice it was that all of my friends had a kind of housing. All of my friends were getting some kind of food, some kind of like healthcare, and like the ability that lent not just me and my friends being able to like do our jobs to the best that we could, right? But also the fact that like my friends are just healthier. My friends are
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
Well, I loved
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, absolutely. That did happen a lot. I've seen that. I saw that in college. I saw that in the military. And we're not saying that everything is actually amazing in the military. Like a lot of the services they provide, like of course not. You're not going to be staying in 5-star hotels unless you're in the Air Force, of course. But
right.
everything is limited. But if you're complaining about, I don't know, the mess hall or something, this defect food is disgusting. I always ask, like, compared to what? I mean, what are you comparing this to? Like,
Nope.
can you point me to another place where they are tasked with feeding 1,500 people and the food is like 3-star Michelin quality? Of course not. Yeah, it's not going to be as good as what your mom made. I'm sorry, but that's just what happens when you have a mass of people to feed. The same way it is like college cafeterias, but people do like to complain and shit. One thing I don't know about you. I can't speak about your experience, but I imagine it's going to be similar. I was surprised with the VA. When I got out of the Army, I was prepared for all of the VA horror stories I'd heard. I remember going to my first VA appointment. It was at 9:30 in the morning. I got there at 9:15. Checked in. They said, "Oh, your blood draw is over there." I did my blood draw. 9:30 on the fucking dot. They came and got me, saw me out the door. And the VA in Indianapolis is huge. And then again, I haven't seen too many of them, but it is a massive hospital. I've seen big hospitals
Mhm.
before. And honestly, the VA has been a great experience for me, which I did not expect. I really expected it to be a nightmare. How was it for you?
Oh, I expected the same thing. I'd heard the stories. I
Yeah.
thought the VA was going to be like, hey, so like there's a 1911 with one round in that back room. Just do it yourself for us,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
and my experience was a little bit different than a lot of people. So I got med retired out, right? Navy fucked me up. They realized they did. I got a med board. They were like, oops, we broke you. So here's like E4 for life, right? And then before like the last day that I had my Navy check, right? Like when I was on terminal leave, the very next day I was collecting VA disability, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
they do the process a little bit differently when you're like med boarded and justified, right? But I've had a great time. Like I had a great time with the VA. Like their therapy services are excellent. Like the medical service has been pretty good. I live out in the boonies, so generally what they're doing is referring to like other specialists, right? So like GI doc, heart doc, like all these other specialties that would take forever to get to, right? As a
Hmm.
civvy, right? Like because the VA community care line is like getting in contact with people and saying like, hey, like old retiree Ho needs to go and like get his goddamn colon checked out, right? Because he
Yeah.
might have like some syndrome. Happening very good, doing very well. Like I have never had a problem. They mail my fucking prescriptions right to my PO box, even like
Yep.
the scheduled stuff. Like it's been great. I think they might have had a really bad time, but they did a lot of cleanup. And every
Yes.
time I meet vets, I encourage them to go to the VA. So
I do. I do. A lot of people will write them off right away, and the reason that people have like that negative thought process when it comes to the VA, a lot of it has to do with the Walter Reed scandal that happened back in early 2000s, I think, which is really funny because Walter Reed is not even a VA hospital. I didn't learn that till many years later that it's actually not even a VA hospital. But I always like to pull this up when people talk about the VA and everything, or when they criticize either single payer healthcare or single provider healthcare, the VA. This is from two independent studies they had ranking the VA versus other healthcare providers. These findings come at a time when veteran trust in VA outpatient care has reached an all-time record high of 92%. You can check the VA customer satisfaction rate. It is 91.8% as of September of last year, I think is what it was. And it's been around that the entire time. I challenge anyone to find a private health insurer that has a 92% customer satisfaction rate. You won't. I already looked. You can if you want, but you'll find a lot. You'll find a lot in the 70s. You'll find some in the low 80s. You won't find. In fact, this is pretty funny. VA is number one with customer satisfaction for health insurance providers. Number two is Humana. And for those of you wondering, Humana is TRICARE, so it's military health insurance too. So
TRICARE West.
Yes, exactly. So it's just really, really funny that people will. Then again, we've been raised with this idea that if the government provides something, it's going to be bad. Now, to be fair, a lot of times that's true. A lot of times, so the government is providing something, it's garbage. But that's because it's not fully funded and operated well. But the fact that the government's doing it does not necessitate it to be bad. And unfortunately, a lot of people walk into anything like this with that in mind.
Yeah, well, generally, even if the government isn't directly providing it, like the VA or TRICARE West, right? Like it's still subsidizing it. One of my first jobs as a nurse was working like long-term care rehab. So like, old folks who can't live at home, and then like people who would come out of surgery who they don't need to be in the hospital, but like they definitely can't go home yet, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And almost all those people, they're on Medicaid, right? Like I was working for a private company, but they were on Medicaid. Like we were getting our bills paid by the government. So like, even if the government isn't directly providing it, like we're still doing it. We're still operating on behalf of the U.S. government. So
yeah. Jaden commented here, definitely not United. I've heard bad things about United Healthcare. I don't know. Maybe it was in the news for a little bit, some bad stuff with their CEO. But United Healthcare. Wonder what he's up to these days. Yeah, United Healthcare not doing too well. The last thing with the military, I love asking, is there anything you learned in the military that you took with you? And yeah, there's a lot of bad experiences that we all have, but something that the military did, you're like, wow, that's pretty good. I kind of like that. Anything like that?
Oh, I'm about to make you so fucking sad, TJ.
Oh, here we go. Let's hear it.
When I was in, my stupid fucking job was, of course, like aviation electrician, right? However, that turned into just like, oh, you're actually a plane captain now, which is what the Navy calls their crew chief. So most of my job, if I wasn't stuck in supply, I was out on the flight line with the stupid fucking wands, bringing in birds that could have just ran me over, right? Like I don't know why I was out there doing this, right? But the other collateral duty I ended up with was being, I think we call it sapper, you guys call it sharp, and then also the classic like ask care treat, stop your buddies from killing themselves kind of thing, and like. I just, for some stupid crazy reason, I don't even know how it worked out this way, I ended up being the guy that people were calling for that while we were on deployment. And like there was like 2 or 3 sapper cases I had responded to. I had done a whole lot of ass care treats. I had a whole lot of junior sailors who were really struggling with alcohol, who needed like help getting out of situations, and like that directly prepared me to doing what I do now, which is being a youth crisis nurse. Or like, and so like it translated immediately. And I hear a lot of people talk about how it's like, yeah, the military has like a really bad sexual assault rate, like we have a bad domestic violence rate, we have all these problems, and like we do. I will never say we don't, right? However, we at least have a system to try and handle it, versus out here there is no system. Like there's nothing, right? Like I can't call, like if for example, if I have a patient, they're like maybe 16, 17 years old, and they're encountering like sexual assault from like someone who lives in the home.
Yeah.
Right. Their options are like the cops and then starting that process, or nothing. Right. And so they have to take that risk with the cops. And this will probably play into shit more later that we talk about. But that system that was there, and the way that when I was in, because I was in a very co-ed unit, right. The way that I saw my skipper and my command go to bat and do these things for these girls who had basically gotten blue on blued, that was really important to me, and that shaped a lot of shit for me. So
I don't know what it was like recently or whatever, but in the past, I know that. So what he was talking about with the, like we call them sharp complaints, you had sapper issues, that you can make a restricted or unrestricted report. So you can make a report that is like official. I want this, well, everyone's getting involved here. People are going to know. Or an unrestricted one where, hey, this isn't going to go out to the public, whatever, but it will be on file in case something happens with this individual in the future. And one of the issues that the military had, let me know if they updated this, well, if you can remember, the final authority for the investigation was the commander. Was it still that way when you were in?
So it did. If it went unrestricted, it stayed at your CO, basically, right? However, right, like this, it depends on your skipper. But in our case, one of the battle buddies I worked with, like, she had this horrible thing happen to her. It was very aggressive and violent and traumatic, and like we were pretty good at, even though it was unrestricted, we got her off the deployment zone, right? We did it very hush hush. We like because the whole point of like going unrestricted, and like what my job and then also our victim advocate's job and also the skipper's job for that was like, all right, we're not going to re-victimize
right
Seaman Bethany, right? We're not going to like put her through that again, which meant that like, okay, Petty Officer Ho, the guy who did it, you can't like go and confront him and go beat his ass, right? Because that's just going to cause more problems for the sailor, right? Same thing with the victim advocate. She can't go around doing stuff. And it was a really hard time because like the dudes who had done it were like my boys. There were guys who like had, like, when I'd gotten to the unit, like trained me up, take me out into town, like got me very like used to my surroundings. And like there was like a moment there where it was like you have to assess like what's actually important, right? Do you stay one of the boys, or do you do your fucking job? So
right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So you got out, you find a new career path and everything. What made you decide to do content creation? Like what evil demon possessed you that made you decide to go down this dark path?
Oh, I was mad, dude. I was working through so much. Like I had left the military really upset with this thing that we talked about, right? Like I thought we were the best of the best. Went in there, like a bunch of my friends get assaulted, or like a bunch of my friends end up like dying, not in work related ways, right? Like to suicide. And I was like mad, and I didn't have a way to process that. And I ended up just like between doing like, at first it was like home renovation content, and then also doing like political stuff. I just kind of got a following, and then I kept that for a while. And my TikTok channel has like changed quite a bit over time, and now we don't know where it's going to be at this point. But it's just something I started doing, and I made like a weird amount of money with it for a while. That was the weirdest thing. So, but I had to process a lot of stuff out, and then like when I did finally start going to therapy with the VA, right, I was like, oh, like I'm lashing out, and I'm doing this behavior that ultimately is bad for me. Like I need to stop, right? So,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So when did you start?
2020.
2020. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I done this thing in my neighborhood where I came back to rural Idaho, right? I was very frustrated with coming out of very liberal, very like queer welcoming Washington State, or at least northwestern Washington State. And then like I come back to Idaho, like I'm out of the closet and stuff. And then suddenly I'm like, you know what? I'm going to like show everyone what I'm about. And I put all these signs up in my yard that were saying like vets against Trump. Like I had a BLM sign, I had a whole bunch of pride flags. I had like a big sign I'd painted that said like LGBT safe here kind of thing. And like kind of, it got me doxxed. I got death threats. Like it put me on the map. Yeah, dude, I got doxxed by a local news station that had just posted a photo of my house number and everything that said Democratic Party headquarters located here. Like,
wow, damn, the local news came out. Holy shit, that's the first I've heard of that. That's gonna well, hey, risk we all take, right, folks? This is part of the game here. Yeah. So you said you started with like home improvement stuff. Is that what you said?
Yep. Yeah. There's like a whole nother story there, but basically, I had bought my first house in 19, and then to keep that house, I ended up enlisting at like 22, 23. And this was like it was like 2013 when I bought it. Different time, way different time to buy a house, right?
Yeah.
But then Like, let family stay in the house while I was away. They trash the house, hoarder
Ah,
house,
damn,
nightmare.
damn.
Yeah,
Your own flesh and blood. God damn it.
it always is. It's never not
Always.
that.
All right. So I do want to get into some of the content. I think the content that I first spotted whenever I ran across your page a couple of years ago, probably. And I brought an example of it here to share with the good folks.
Oh, here we go. Men are just deeply, deeply unhappy. And it's because they live all these contradictions that they really seem to love and want to believe in, right? So, like, men hold all the power in this country. Men control everything. We've always done that. But also, it's not our fault that it's this way. Like, don't blame us. Don't look at us, right? Men don't benefit from the system, or like, men made the system, or like, my favorite contradiction is this thing where, like, we love to see ourselves as like, the chief guardians and protectors, right? We're the providers. We're like, this thing that like is meant to like fight and love and like protect and guard and provide, but also men just want to be rescued right now. Like, men really, really want to be rescued. We really want someone to come in and say like, hey, you don't have to do patriarchy anymore, right? You don't have to live this way anymore. You don't have to be this guy. You don't have to live by these rules. But then every time someone comes in and is like, hey, like, let's get you out of that cycle. Let's get men out of that cycle. We like kick and scream and throw hissy fits, and we get emotional and sensitive. And like, God help you if you point out that we are behaving that way, right? God help you if you point out that like men as an archetype here in the West, at least, are having problems that we made ourselves, right? We'll blame everything else, and usually we'll blame women.
All right. So I wanted to go into what you mentioned the entire video there, but specifically with the beginning where you said that men are deeply unhappy right now. And brother, truer words have never been spoken. I don't think men aren't necessarily known for their, joyous nature or anything like that on most
Right?
occasions, but man, it's gotten really bad. I can't think of a time when men were more angry than they are, specifically young men, which is
Yep.
where, I think we're going to focus on a lot here, because like the military and like the culture of the expendable nature of men and violence and masculinity, we're going to get all that. It really plays in, but it affects the young men the most. So I really wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on the unhappiness part and the irony that men want to be masculine, that they want to embody the character traits of masculinity that they've been taught since they were young, and combine that with the irony that they also want to be rescued. I thought that was a really good point.
Yeah. So I want to like start off by saying that like a lot of this is coming from like worked experience, like OJT, because like about half my patients are males, and a lot of times like uh when they're coming to me, I have to buy in a lot. I have to get their trust a lot.
Yeah.
Because generally what happens is, the cops or their parents bringing them in. When you are dealing with like teenagers right now, there's a lot of distrust and discomfort of like coming from the teenager towards you, which is fine. They're allowed to have that. They're in crisis. But also you have to like get their buy-in, and like for me, right, what that means is like I'm going to play to the things that I know they like, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, like, I had this other video where, because I wear Hawaiian shirts to work all the time, like people don't see my build, right? People
Mm-hmm.
don't see like what my body shape is like. And like, there was one kid who I decided to wear like an old uniform undershirt to work instead of a Hawaiian shirt. And he was like, oh my gosh, like you're actually jacked. I'm like, yes. And like, that was the stupid thing that made him take me seriously. Right. But these kids are lost. And like, generally every time they're extremely frustrated with the situation, they're only taught to deal with it with violence and anger. But the thing that they don't ever consider is that like things don't have to be that way, right? Like you don't have to be slotted into this box of how you operate, right? So going back to the military, one of the craziest things that I got to do and see was that some of the most hardcore capable sailors I ever met, right, were just nowhere near where they were supposed to be gender wise if you go off society, right?
Mm-hmm.
People who are doing crazy work, extremely qualified, like maintainers, plane captain, security staff. And then, you hang out with them later and it's like just one of my best friends, beautiful, wonderful painter, sensitive gay man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think these kids need a lot of help, but like, because we have created an environment where help is bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is it. them accepting it is difficult, because if you don't frame the help in the right way, like if you don't appeal to them, and this is like also how you de-radicalize people, they'll refuse it. They'll refuse it and they'll keep being indignant, right? Like, and when I'm working with these young men, sometimes for like 2 or 3 days at a time, depending on how long they have to stay in the center, usually it's only supposed to be 24 hours. It is an entire process of like, I need to get their trust. They need to know that I am not going to be the kind of man that judges them and hazes them. But I also still have to be a man they look up to. And then after all that, I can role model like, hey, you don't actually have to be this way, right? Like, I can show you and tell you that you can be someone who is not as high strung, kind of deal. So,
Yeah, this is a lot of this. I lay this at the feet, not necessarily of the young men. I don't know if you've run across this or you have this even same opinion that I do, but I do feel kind of upset at how often those of us on the left will individualize these problems. We're very, it's an oddly conservative thing to do, and you will see this when they're talking to, like, say you have like a boy and he's 14 or so, and he has some reactionary views and he's going down a dark path or whatever. And he expresses how upset he is that the world is out to get him, or that, society isn't set up for his success, and it's not. I'm not gonna pretend it absolutely isn't. And or he'll make the mistake, this is what a lot of young guys do, I guess that's what I was thinking, he'll make the mistake of going into women's circles or something and say, well, all you women are complaining about how tough life is, but it's really bad for me too. The system is screwing me over. And the response he gets is, well, who made the system? Which, a question I hate, because I gotta tell you, he didn't make it. Okay, I can guarantee you he was born into it just like the rest of us. That we do shit like this all the time, because now listen, I can give you the academic way to explain that, but that messaging is brutal. It's terrible. It is absolutely awful, because, like, yeah, it's not his fault. Now he can either fight against it or he can make it his whole personality to complain about it and protect his space, which is what conservatives teach him to do. But my heart does go out to individuals like this, because they have been sold a lie their entire life. They have been sold multiple lies their entire life. The primary one, with what we were discussing with the military and everything, is every man secretly has a death wish. We all have this desire either to die doing something fucking cool, just doing a stunt or something, like, or to be noticed, to kind of peacock and everything, or we have this desire to die for a cause, to have a noble death, to walk over the tattered, with a tattered red cape over the remains of society, because we put in what we wanted. And guys are trained from that, honestly, from an early age, like the whole dulce et decorum est, that it is sweet and noble to die for your nation, that it is we have, like, you should suffer at work. Like, brag about working 80 hours a week and never seeing your wife and your kids, because your value in society is making more money for the billionaire who owns your company. That is a stand-up thing to do. You should be proud of that. It's like those blue collar memes, like guys who, work 75 hours this week. Oh, I remember my first job, shit like that. Telling guys that they need to hide their emotions, because what are you, a bitch? Stop showing that you're feeling sad or something like that. And be nice to women and they will give you sex in return, what you see in, like, movies and shit like that. Guys have been these boys have been fed lie after lie after lie. Then they come of age, they're 18, 19, 20 years old. They realize the world is not what they've been told at all. And they see that they don't have a lot of hope. They don't see a scenario in which life gets better for them. And they start complaining about it. And unfortunately, the right wing has found a way to pull them to their side, say, yes, the world is unfair. Now, what you need to do is make it unfair in your favor. That's what you got to do, instead of going to, the correct solution, in which the more noble battle, the only noble battle in the situation, is to fight to equalize things across society. And I think that there's a lot of ground to be gained here. It doesn't speak well of young men that they have gone the path that they have, but it doesn't speak well of us that we've allowed this to happen, which I do blame us in a way.
No, yeah, I would agree. We're accountable for losing the young men vote. You'll hear a lot of different people say things about that. I would always warn people from falling down the route of like someone saying we lost the young men because we don't have enough men to the front and we're not doing enough masculine things, because I think there might be some truth in that. I'm not a fucking expert, right? However, I think that's a slippery slope to just like, and we should just be allowed to we should promote the same shitty masculine things that the right is doing, right? Like there's like a window there, or a sweet spot there that we have to keep in there. When it comes to, as far as like one of the things I remember hearing when you were talking there was no one likes to be written off, and like we tend to do that a lot whenever men turn out to be kind of shitty, right? Especially what I would consider a kid, which is 25 and younger. Like whenever they come out into the world and they're starting having problems and they start doing what is actually just figuring out their identity, right?
Yes, yeah.
When they're like, okay, I'm 18, 19, I have this independence, I need to figure out what I do with this independence. And realistically, developing independence in a sense itself is supposed to start at about 12 years old. For most people, it doesn't start until like 18, 19. Whenever they have that and they're experimenting with it, you can't experiment with your identity if you don't have someone else there to observe your identity, essentially, right? Like you have to socialize and do that. And for the most part, a lot of young men, or what I would consider boys, do not want to go and try out a new identity with other men, right? Like that's not a thing that they do. Generally, like when they come, like for example, right, even a thing that maybe we didn't even notice together on this call, right? Like what do we do immediately? Like vet jokes, right? Immediately vet jokes, talking, right? Like I'm not going just like, oh yeah, TJ, like it was really hard at the crisis center this week. Not because I don't think you'd be receptive to that, but because generally we're not primed to think men are receptive to that, right? Like that's not the starting thing that we get. And when these dudes go into women's spaces, whether that's online or real life, I think it happens more online than real life. And they're like, I'm going to spout off all the worst shit. Those women, for them, right? Well, they're very similar to like the racial struggle. It's like, dude, we're dealing with our own problems over here. I can't sit here and fix you, right? I can't correct your bullshit while dealing with my bullshit here. So the easier thing is to be like, yeah, you're a write-off. Clearly you're going to go down that path. Fuck you. And like I think everyone knows to an extent that is bad because you've lost that person, right? And the hard thing is when you have so many young men who are lost and needing rescued, right? They want rescue. They want to see that they're worth being saved. They need a lot of people who are ready to be patient, but like we don't have like a care team and like a counselor team for every single young boy. So we end up writing them off, and then they go the path they do, and it gets real fucking bad. So
yeah. And what's difficult is that I would agree that it is more, especially a stranger or whatever, like it is more or less a waste of time to have arguments online with folks and trying to pull them out of the alt-right pipeline. That there are much better uses of your time. It's not like that. Someone you know personally, like someone you care for and who most importantly respects your opinion, like someone who actually comes to you for advice, I absolutely show all the grace that you can in that situation. But like you said, there's bigger fish to fry, and like one person. But when this happens over and over and over again, it kind of sends the message like, oh, well, actually, we don't care about you. We kind of want you to go. Or it's kind of like I don't know if you ever heard the meme that when lefties say it's not my job to educate you or something like that. And and it's like, all right, fine. Technically, you're correct. It is not your job to educate people. But you know what? Ben Shapiro would be more than happy to. Like the day of Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, they cannot wait for those folks to come over. They will give them all the information they want. So we can't win this battle by being passive. We can't sit back and, like you said, write people off because they didn't happen to come to the conclusion. By the way, what really gets me is they didn't happen to come to the correct conclusion, according to you, that you just found out 2 years ago, probably. I think about this, right? Because, I remember a friend of mine 5 years ago, I think, and she was telling me how someone she knew uses they them pronouns. And I said, that's fucking absurd. What are you talking about? A singular person is a they. Are you kidding me? That was 5 or 6 years ago. That was not that long ago. And so, yeah, not everyone figures this shit out, because once we understand something, we for some reason think that, oh, it's simple, everyone can see this. Yeah, it is now, but it wasn't always that way, especially if people didn't have the same cultural background that you had. I can't speak for everybody, well, obviously, but I have a major advantage over most people in the country in the fact that I am the beneficiary of an amazing education, incredible, high school, college, grad school. Most people don't have that. So if you're talking to someone who hasn't been not only exposed to newer ideas, but also not exposed to the cultures, the mores, the customs that is expected in polite society, that you don't have that, you're going to have a harder time bringing folks along. So yeah, you should be, what did Michael Brooks say? We should be kind to people, but brutal to systems. I'm interested in changing the systems as much as the best that we can to create a better outcome, but attacking the individual doesn't really get you anywhere. Not my opinion.
No, I mean, your opinion is right, because ultimately, like, the more you attack someone, the more solidified they get. If you've looked into, I'm sure you have heard and seen, like, de-radicalization processes, right? Like, how to de-radicalize, whether it's like someone from like a terror group, a cult, a political group, something, them coming out of that circle or that line of thinking, and in this case, we're talking about like young men, right? You have to have so many systems in place. Yep. Number one, for everyone to be waiting for this person to come out of that system and to be like, okay, I'm ready to consider my options, right? They have to know that safety is there, right? And then they also have to know that, like, essentially, everyone has to know that, like, they'll be looking for things that send them back into the system, right? They'll be looking for anything to go back to that and be like, no, see, this is why I believe in, I don't know, that men are the superior gender or something, right? And you have to be ready for them to relapse, and you have to sit there and be patient and be ready, and like, you have to be welcoming every time. It's why one of the number one things that you can actually do to hurt your family if they're radicalized is cut them off, because it just keeps them there, and they need to know that there is a lifeline. And it doesn't mean it's easy. It is very taxing to be the lifeline. Yes. It's very hard, but that's what it takes. So
yeah. And you mentioned the human connections, and this is an area where all young men kind of go through the same. I can't say all. I certainly went through it. The same process where you realize that everything you learned is kind of a lie, and the world's kind of bullshit, and you have a weird antisocial phase and stuff. That's not wildly uncommon for a lot of dudes. I certainly had my time in that as well. But I think it's a lot more difficult now. I more or less know it's more difficult for young people now because of how atomized our society has been, which is to a large extent because of the fact that we're in late stage capitalism, but also social media. Boy, was this a mistake. I hate to say it. I fucking hate to say it, but this is the one thing the boomers got absolutely right. Whenever the internet came out and people started using computers, the internet more and more, I remember all the boomers saying, this is gonna destroy human interaction. People are going to be sitting in their rooms watching TV or the computer all the time. No one's going to go out and talk to each other. And I said, listen, that's ridiculous. The internet is going to open up so many more avenues of communication. You're going to be friends with people in different states and different countries. It'll make it. Now, I was right, but so were the boomers. Like people, I worked in a recruiting battalion in the Army, and I remember when
I knew you were gonna fuck me. I could feel it.
I worked in a and I would do when guys were doing their secret clearances and stuff like that, I would talk to these boys, 18, 19, 20 years old, and you have to put 3 personal references. And I would say, okay, so give me, I got your academic references, your work references. Now I need 3 personal references. Give me some people some friends that they can talk to. Multiple times I heard them, they look me straight in the eye and say, oh, I don't have any friends. And the first time it happened, I kind of just paused. I was like, wait, what do you mean you don't have any friends? They're like, no, I just don't have any friends. I said, pull out your cell phone right now. You're telling me there's no names and numbers in that phone? And they say, well, no, I mean, I know people, but I wouldn't call them my friend. The first time that happened, I was like, okay, what's up with this kid? This happened multiple times. This is back in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And that's when I first started noticing it. I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. And it has not gotten better. It's not gotten better at all. And you've seen this a lot with I don't know if you've seen stats about how young people aren't dating at numbers like they used to, like Donald Trump.
Oh, all the time. All the time I look at the stats. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. Like, these are numbers we've never seen before. No one's seen anything like it. But yeah, it's really bad. And a lot of it, once again, like, I'm not interested in critiquing like what women are doing. That's not our lane or whatever. But I'm talking with guys. A lot of it does have to do with the fact that society is more atomized. But the systems aren't set up for guy success either, because I put the blame a lot on video games and online porn. I really do. I think that plays a huge part into this, where guys will. It's a lot easier to play in a video game than it is to actually go outside and create an adventure for yourself. It's a lot easier to spend all weekend, scrolling the entire internet to find the exact type of woman that turns you on at that point.
I gotta find that perfect video.
Exactly. Thousands. You have thousands of women to choose from, and then you can crank one out. And if you want, you could do it a few hours later. Yeah, sure. That's not as good as actually getting a girlfriend, but it's a lot easier. And a lot of guys are going to go that route. So guys will find themselves into these cycles of never leaving the fucking house. And then they're wondering, well, how come I can't meet anybody? And they use the excuse. This is an excuse where they say, well, women say don't bother us. Okay, no. Well, when has that ever stopped you? When has what women said ever stop you from doing anything? I don't buy that for a second. But it's not entirely their fault, because, well, that's what I'm saying. It's the system hasn't made it better. Like, the society that we've actually crafted hasn't made it better for us, because people are incredibly insular. And that one is a little tougher to challenge and to change. I really don't know a good way, because I talk to young folks, and young folks, I'm so old. I talk to younger men, and I tell them, listen, if you don't have any friends, you have social anxiety, I get it. I know it sucks, but you just have to get out and talk to people. Like, the only way you're going to get better at push-ups is by doing push-ups. That's it. And a lot of folks just don't want to do it because it's scary and it does take effort. But it's the deck is stacked against younger men higher than it ever has been, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, what you're describing is, number one, right? Like, right now, I don't even want to say it's a generational thing, because I have seen it affect across, like, from Gen Alpha up to like millennials, right? It seems to span a pretty good thing, where we have always had dopamine seeking behavior. That is not abnormal. That's how we get motivated to do things. But like, we have so much access to instant dopamine, right? You can sit there, you can go on your TikTok, you can swipe, you can go onto your like video game and play, you can go on a Pornhub and you can see like your favorite porn star or whatever. And like, when you have so much access to immediate dopamine, and like our brains aren't, there's a really good book. I haven't read it, but I think it's something about, I think it's amazing. I haven't read it. Like, I know it's there. But it's a book talking about how like, we still have caveman brain, which is still the brain that operates off of like, go get dopamine. You get dopamine by eating berry, killing mammoth, finding mate, right? Like, that's how you get it. And we're operating off of caveman brain with modern technology. I am always on either side of like, the internet is the best thing ever, internet is the worst thing ever. Like, I don't stay in either camp, but like, it depends on like what patient I have that day, right? Like, what fucking, I don't know. I had to learn I learned phrases from these kids all the time. Some 12-year-old in my center a couple weeks ago was like, I'm pulling the huzz. I was like, what does that mean?
I haven't heard that. What is huzz?
It is in reference. It's just what we would say, like, oh, I'm gonna go like pick up the hose, right? Like, it's their version of that. Right?
God, that's shit. You know what? I'm old man TJ. No, hose was perfectly fine. What? You know what?
Nah, now it's hose.
Go ahead.
But we so you have easy access to dopamine, and then you have a whole lot of avoidance. You have people avoiding the uncomfortable things, which when it comes down to like, well, what do? I want to go like meet people, and it's like, well, just go outside. It's like, well, look at outside. What do I go do from there, right? Like, step 1 is go outside. Step 2 is figure out what you're doing outside. Step 3 is don't get arrested for being a weirdo outside, right? Like, and And I think it is difficult, right? Because not everyone is going to college where they're around peer age people.
Yep.
And this topic is a little bit more in depth for me because I have a video that I haven't posted, but so much of what I see with kids when they're like just fucking broken and they're screaming for help and they need help is like these 16, 17-year-olds who their parents have done this thing where it's like, all right, no phone, no door, no Xbox, no TV, nothing where you can connect to people. Oh, you're going to school? We're taking you out of public school. You're going to homeschool. Oh, you're still finding a way to see your little friends, and we think your friends are the problem. We're sending you to an inpatient treatment for 3 months, and we're going to do that as much as we can as like a disciplinary thing. And then like by the time these kids are in crisis and they get to me, girl or boy, when you see what happens to adolescents who don't socialize, who don't get to go be around peers and form identity, it's scary. And it's not that they're dangerous, but it's that, this one poor girl, her parents really want her to be a kind of religious, we call it Molly Mormon up here type. But her parents wanted her to be that way. She just didn't want to be that way, right? And her parents' response was to send her away for like 2 years, basically, and like move the entire family to different states while she was away. And like this girl is just like, yeah, and the only thing I care about is weed because that's the only thing that's been consistent for me, right? Same thing with boys, right? You take a boy, and if he just never gets out for like 2 or 3 years during the formative years, he's gonna come out at a disadvantage.
Yep. Yeah. What is a Molly Mormon?
So I live up in the north. I live in the American Northwest, right? So Idaho, Utah area. We have a lot of Mormons or LDS people. I'm going to do this thing to cover my ass and say that Mormons, for the most part, are not that much different from any other like very religious sect of Christianity, right? But Molly Mormon is what we refer to as like the box standard Mormon girl, right? Where they're following all the gender roles and the archetypes that are set up for them. So
I will not go. Monty said he was covering his ass by saying Mormons are the same as any extreme religious Christian. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Dog about numbered out here. Okay,
I'll say it. Listen, listen, for your own safety. I get. Maybe I don't want to call them out. I'm in Indiana. There's no Mormons around, folks. Mormons are weird, man. Mormons are. It's so bizarre. Like, just weird tangent. Sorry, but just based on the religion itself. So. I don't know about you guys out there. I don't know. I'm an atheist. I used to be a fundamentalist Baptist, long story, but I left religion in my early 20s and left belief in God by my late 20s. But I've seen the hierarchy when it comes to weirdness of religion. I grew up in a pretty weird one, like a fundamental, like your white evangelical Christian sect. That's basically what I was a part of when I was young. So I know crazy when I see it. Mormons have all of that. Plus another crazy book written by Joseph Smith, like 150 years ago. And if you guys ever want to read like that story, I don't understand. I get why people are part of religions that are thousands of years old, that have basically entered the realm of myth, or legend, like Jesus and Buddha, Muhammad and all that. But man, Scientologists and Mormons, like you're getting religion from people who were born in the 19th century and the 20th, people born in hospitals creating a religion, and you're following that. Yeah. I don't understand it. And Joseph Smith, the golden plates he had were covered in a blanket.
His crying stone that he had.
The rocks and hats. He's seeing the future with rocks and hats. And what's great about the plates. So for those who know what we're talking about, Joseph Smith found these golden plates that were written, I think, by Gabriel, by the Archangel Gabriel. He wrote these plates, and Gabriel, and Joseph Smith couldn't write. I think he was illiterate. He couldn't write. So he would sit behind a curtain and read these golden plates to someone in his church. And he would transcribe a whole book from Joseph Smith talking from reading these golden plates. And no one ever saw these plates besides Joseph Smith, but he did allow some people to feel them underneath a blanket or a sheet. He would bring it to the church and they'd feel it. And you have got to read the testimonies, folks. Multiple people said, the plates were about 8 inches long, 4 inches wide. They kind of felt like 10. So many people said it felt like 10. It's like, folks, why do you think the place felt like 10, really? And last part about Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon, the guy who was writing the book for Joseph Smith, his wife thought Joseph Smith was a con man, probably because he had served time in jail for being a con man. So he had a decent reason to believe that. So after he got done writing the book, she stole it. She stole the book and hid it from Joseph and his scribe. And she said, listen, if Joseph Smith really can interpret these angelic plates, he should be able to copy this word for word now that it's stolen. And Joseph, which was pretty good, pretty fucking smart. But then Joseph Smith said, oh, turns out those plates were corrupt. I found a new set of plates and just did a whole new book. People still...
My files were corrupted. It's not my fault.
Yes. Yeah, a bad mainframe. Yeah, so I don't know, Mormonism, just from that alone, that believing one religion, fine, but believing like an offshoot, like an addition, a DLC to another religion on top of it, come on, I think it is a little bit goofy.
It is crazy because these people double down hard, and like
they do.
It is like unfortunately I get to live at the epicenter, and like for the most part, right? Like you have like fucking shitty Mormons the same way you have like shitty Christian people, right? But there is like a tinge of, for example, my in-laws are Mormon. Okay.
Oh boy.
Like,
I see. I see.
My wife has her records removed, right? Like she very much was like, yeah, being a woman in this church was terrible. So many terrible things happened, and she got her records removed. Her family are all still believers. And like it is so weird looking at it, because if you don't look at it too hard, you're like, oh yeah, they're doing Christian stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you see stuff like, oh, and they're obsessed with the founding fathers. Like they're obsessed with the United States government. Like, and it's I've written a lot about the Mormons, both in fiction and like just kind of in general, because they're so interesting, and like they are weirdly organized for a religion.
Holy shit!
Like an offshoot, they are. I would not be surprised if there's like a Mormon PMC out there, right? Like if there's like Mormon hitmen, they're ready to go.
Mormons have perfected American capitalism better than anyone I've ever seen. Like they have what's missing actually from the evangelical community, which is community, honestly. That the Mormons have, because the problem with evangelical churches, this is where the Protestant, holy shit, are we off course? Anyway, this is where the Protestant Reformation kind of fucked up in a lot of ways. Because if you read Martin Luther's complaints about the Catholic Church, most of them make sense to me. So, okay, the Bible says there is one mediator between God and man, the man Christ Jesus. Why do I have to have another guy, like a priest, talk to God for me? I was like, okay, that makes sense. But the issue is that with the Catholic Church, everyone was kind of in on the same game. They all had they had a central authority with the Pope and everything. And you had the noblesse oblige. You had the rich folks were kind of like urged, hey, you have to take care of poor people to some extent and everything. But now, if it's every man for himself, like your communication with God is yours alone. You have the priesthood of the believer. Now you have a direct line to the man upstairs. He tells you what to do. Fuck what anybody else says. And it's very individualistic, which is why capitalism ends up, destroying entire communities. The Mormons found a way to keep the community and the capitalism, which, look, hats off to them for that. But yeah, they're
very weird, hierarchical, which also, to segue back, religion provides a lot of good structure for boys.
And boy. Yeah. Oh man. All right.
I say good structure. I mean like a structure.
At all. So, yeah. Like, this is, I don't like religion for like,
no,
religion
really.
Religion does have social utility. There's like, it does. Like I have yet to see a replacement that is as effective at social utility and community building that rivals religion. I don't see it. Like, I mean, if I correctly point out, oh, this is just, nonsense made up by human beings, that's great. But where are we going to have weddings and funerals? I got nothing for you. I got nothing. Yeah. Like, we're going to go to a courthouse or some shit. All right, we can, but then it's just some sort of bureaucratic function. I get why that's important to folks. And I also get that, listen, I can't speak. Once again, I hate how many opinions I have that are so right-wing coded. I have to be careful how I say them so people don't take it the wrong way. But having discipline and structure is good. Okay, that is not a right-wing thing. Okay, unfortunately, it comes across that way to people. But people need discipline and structure, not only to thrive but to be happy. You think you want to just do whatever you want, have no rules. No, you don't. You will actually be miserable doing something like that. And for young men, I will speak because I was one. Religion does provide you with, hey, here are the rules, here are the orders, and also I'm not saying it's entirely biological, but it is the way we were raised. We were raised to seek out a challenge. We were raised to seek out difficulty. Look, this is why dudes like Whiplash, okay? Dudes like Whiplash, not because the movie,
the drummer movie, okay?
No, yeah, the movie, yeah, not because yes, we think Fletcher is a good teacher. No, he was a horribly abusive person, but we are drawn to shit like that. We're drawn to a very tough challenge that we have to overcome. It's all of male media. It's all about conquering an enemy or powering through an obstacle. And religion does help you with that. Now, I think there are ways we can do better than that, but it does explain, I think this is where you're going, why young men are more drawn to religion now than they were, 20 years ago.
Yeah, they're into it, and you see that it's exclusively like when you look at who's flocking back to religion, like it is young men.
Yep.
The women in their same age bracket are not following them there, and I think it's because what I have anecdotally witnessed, Cake, I'm not a woman, I didn't experience being in church and a woman, is that like going to church as a woman essentially means like going to be a second-class citizen, right? And like women know this, and like men go back there, and what they hear is, no, you're not the second-class citizen. You are the most important person in your household, right? What the Mormons say is that like the men carry the priesthood in the household, right? I make this joke all the time. My wife fucking hates it, right? But like we'll be in an argument, be like, don't forget I carry the priesthood, and she'll be like, we're not Mormon. So like it's unfortunate because men do want a challenge too. Every boy wants I think every person actually wants their hero's journey, but like men are sold that more than others, right? For me, it looks like, that feeling of I'm not a man until I go do the military, right? Like I don't want to sit here and ever compare myself to other men who have gone and done their service, and then I just be like, yeah, I stayed at home and I worked at like Home Depot or something, right? I didn't want to have to do that because I was very insecure, right? Same thing with boys now. They're very worried and insecure about things, and they're looking for their struggle. They want something to come out on the other side on. And like, you even see this amongst us on the left, where we get very fixated on the mythical revolution, right? Like there's going to be some great struggle that we're going to have. And like, I know I'm not even going to get you into talking about that, but like we have people on the left who want that, right? They really, really want to go do this fucking like fight so they can be the cape wearer at the end of everything being done, right? And there's this illusion that like, and you'll feel better for it, and that's not the case, right? Like, I used to have this feeling of like, wow, I'm a GWAT vet, but I never went to the sandbox, never went and did crazy stuff. I never got a car ribbon, right? I never had combat action or whatever. And then the more I exist, the more I'm like, wow, I'm really glad on top of all my issues, I don't have to deal with that. I'm glad that like I don't have to worry about that when I, go to bed or when I go to therapy, or I get to have the wonderful privilege of my great battle is like, I got to pay off the mortgage early, right? Like that's my struggle. And like, it's hard to get boys to that point where it's like, hey, you can find struggles, you can find battles to fight, but they're not going to be as appealing as you want them to be. So,
no. Right. And it's never going to be enough. That's like, there's like a hedonic treadmill is the wrong term because you're thinking about struggle, but the treadmill of, achievement is never going to be enough. There'll never be a point you're searching for it, but there's never going to be a point where like, there it is, I got it. Because you mentioned the military and everything. For, people who join the military and never deploy don't feel like they're worthy, or people who join, deploy, and never leave the wire don't feel they're worthy. People who left the wire but didn't see action feel like they're not worthy. People who saw action but didn't get injured feel like they aren't worthy, and people who got injured and didn't die feel like there's no winning this. There's actually no winning the struggle you're fighting.
I mean, you could be like that, like fucking tier 1 SEAL who's like doing a war crime, and he's just like, I'm winning right now. Like,
yeah, true. Yeah, you could be the guys that made like necklaces out of people's ears in Afghanistan and shit like that. They have that's a good point. The people who actually do feel it are the psychotic ones, and there's no shortage of psychotic individuals in the military. So yeah, that's a good point right there.
Yeah.
And but I had to say, since you brought this up, I I love being a leftist vet. I fucking love it, man. I love it when debating right wingers on this shit because you can use it as a sword and a shield. It's perfect. They can't attack you for not loving the nation or hating America or anything. Good luck. I hate the United States, huh? Were you in the army? I didn't see you there. Well, when did that? I just like kind of odd, like that you're telling me. What did you do again? You worked at Office Max. Oh, how noble! How cool! Yeah, I'm sure. The nation's very proud of you. Someone knocked the keyboard out of your hands once. Wow, man, that's incredible.
Crazy.
I mean, yeah. So it's perfect. And what's great about it is being a masculine presenting leftist veteran. It's I don't know. It's a successful leftist or masculine presenting leftist veteran, a lot of these chumps would trade places with you in a second. Like they would. I love it. I fucking love it. And so, yeah, we use it to our advantage the best we can. But yeah, what were we talking about here? Oh, yeah, young men joining the military, young men wanting structure and religion, everything like that. They need something. That's like they need something to set them on course to like keep their life in stable. But a lot of them just don't have it. And then that comes to the capitalism part where they can't find a job where they think they can be successful because I know it's cliche, folks. I know it's cliche that young men are not having success with friends or with romantic partnerships or their careers and stuff like that. Confidence goes a long way. Confidence, it does. I know it's a glib thing to say or whatever, but the thing with confidence is you can't just have it. You have to earn it. Like very few people can fake confidence. Even fewer can do it consistently. So you have to find a way to earn it. And if you don't, you're going to be floundering and sitting around Googling, like, I don't know, Andrew Tate shit.
Yeah, I would probably add that, like, you need to give things time, right? Like, I had mentioned earlier that, like, being independent should be starting around adolescence, right? Like, the parent's job whenever the kids are starting to enter, like, teen years, whether they're girls or boys, is you start giving them more independence because that's how you try to ensure that by the time they hit 18, 19, they're able to make their own decisions, make judgment calls, have critical thinking, right? And for a lot of people, unfortunately, like, that's not happening. So they're trying to figure this out starting at 18, 19 instead of 8 years back when it should have. And what I try to talk to people a lot, it kind of just sounds like, Unc's over here, fucking Uncle Ho is trying to tell people how to be, right?
Yeah.
And what it always comes off of is I hope it doesn't come off this way, but it's like you just gotta wait. You just gotta wait and give it time, like, and you have to give yourself the opportunity of experience because I tell people every day, like, dude, being 30 is awesome. I love being 30. Like, I love hitting that 3-0 because everything is so much easier than I thought. I can think about things so much clearer than I thought I used to. I waited till I was like 30. I think I got married this year, right? Me and my wife had waited and waited. We wanted to make sure we were good to go. I'm able to do stuff like think clear enough to not be like, well, I got paid. I'm gonna go blow this paycheck on a new fucking AR-15. I'm gonna go blow this paycheck on a new setup or something. And it's like, no, let's put that into the high yield savings. Like this really boring stuff that really helps you in life. It comes easier with time, right? And every time I talk to young boys or young people in general, it's just trying to tell them that they're not supposed to be a fully fledged adult at 18, right? Like, give it until you're 25, 26, like your body will literally develop more in the brain and things will be easier. Just trying not to make your life harder in that in-between time. That's the key thing.
Like that. And this is another thing that I say the same thing, that it's hard to tell people this because you remember what it was like being 18 or 19 and how confusing life was and how you weren't sure what the future was going to look like and you don't feel accomplished because you haven't really accomplished a whole lot, not.
Yep.
And telling folks, listen, just wait and work on yourself and it'll be better years from now is true, but it doesn't help them in the moment because just telling folks, listen, it's going to be rough. You're going to have to suffer. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to try your best. And it's oddly exactly what this is what makes like red pill content so dangerous.
So appealing.
It's appealing, and is that I say dangerous because about 35% of what they say is great advice. Like, it's great. Like you listen to it and they will tell you, So you're having trouble talking to women or whatever, or you're having trouble getting a date or anything. Well, the problem you have is you're focusing on the goal of getting a girlfriend. Like that's your number one goal. That's not good, which is true. It's not. You should work on yourself, be the best possible version of yourself that you can possibly be. Talk to as many people as you can, make friends, make connections, spread your network. The girlfriend will come eventually. And not only the girlfriend, but more friends in general, more success in your field, more connections at work. Do your best at your job. I know it's real trendy for us to say here on the left that look, your boss is fucking you over. I got it. I know. I'm
Yep.
aware that your boss is fucking you over. However, in my life, being someone who shows up to work 5 minutes early, look, a shocking number of people won't do that.
Well, you mean you're 5 minutes early to 15 minutes early, right?
Oh,
That's what
well,
you
not
mean?
not the army, not the army, not the army. Yeah, but outside of the army. Yeah, army. Yeah, you want to be 10 minutes prior every time. But no, but like all that conservative advice of focusing on yourself and making yourself as strong of a person and as appealing of a person as you can. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Well, you mentioned earlier, I wish I would have brought it up like half an hour ago, but you said that guys are sometimes afraid to go talk because what'd you say? They'll get arrested for being a creep or something.
Oh yeah,
And
step
yeah,
outside, don't be a
yeah,
weirdo.
yeah, exactly. So like, I will hear this. A guy, young men will say something like, "Well, I can't go talk to women because I'm afraid that they'll call me a creep." And here's my advice: like, I don't want to take the risk of being called a creep. And my response to this is, you take that risk every time you open your mouth, no matter where you are. Every time you
Yeah.
open your mouth, you take the risk that you're going to say something that will offend someone, something that will scare someone off, something that's going to sound creepy or weird. That's just part of being a human being. What you do is you assess the situation, find out how people react to it, and then say, okay, I'm not going to do that next time. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Humans are very good at adapting to stimuli and seeing how other people react. You will get a lot better at it. I tell you what, you're not going to get any better at it by not doing it. They're just like anything else. You got to find. And so this is all shit that right wingers would say, and like that self help shit that they try to process does have a lot of effectiveness, but they just go off into weird angles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Just because they're op four doesn't mean they don't have good advice sometimes.
That's op four. Very good.
Yeah, the thing I usually say is, for example, right, like generally, like you said, 35% of what the red pillars are saying is actually pretty good advice, right?
Yeah.
Recently I saw a pretty good post from someone who was talking about how, like, yeah, dude, like your boss doesn't have to care about your personal life. Like, HR doesn't actually look out for you, right? Like, and this person was giving very good advice for just keeping a job, right? And then you can go into the comment section, you can see people saying like, oh, well, that's not fair. It shouldn't be this way. It's like, it doesn't matter how it should be, right? You can make it closer to how it should be with time, but ultimately, like, I think I say this in one of those videos, but like, pay is pay, dude. Like, you need a paycheck. You need to go get work, right? You have to go to work. You have to go be a doer, gotta be a go-getter. And ultimately, like, doing the thing that you're uncomfortable with will always be better for you, right? As long as you're not harming people in that process.
Yes.
Like, even I see this in the kids I take care of, right? Where socializing is not as hard as we think it is because people like to be social, right? I am enjoying this call right now, talking to a peer person, right? This is fun for me. I like it, right? Most people think that same way. When I'm working with kids in crisis, right? When I had Molly Mormon and like did not trust me, did not want to like open up to me, very used to being regarded as like the problem kid who everyone hates, right? And like all I knew is that she had popped hot for THC. The first words out of my mouth when the door closed the med center, I'm doing an assessment and I have my security guy watching from a camera because like we do get people who get violent, right? My first thing I say is like, I just want you to know, I love drugs too. Okay. I fucking love drugs. I was like, not even in the like, I was once you and you need to get off the path. I'm just telling you that if I could smoke weed right now, I would. And she was like, really? I'm like, yes. You know, like it's this kind of like way that you can bond with people. Same thing with like one of these poor dudes who fixated on bodybuilding, thought he had to be like my or your size at his age at 16. He looked like a pretty beefy dude, right? Like, and I was explaining like I have 14 years on you. I've had 14 more years of being able to go to the gym, 14 more years of nutrition. You do not need to be at this point, right? Like, you can do other stuff. And then like it turned into more of like, you know, like banter talk, guy talk. Because the guy was like, well, how do I want to get beef. They want to like really stack on muscle. And I was like, start doing barbell squats. And he was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, you don't want to train legs? You don't want to train legs, you fucking idiot. Like, but it works. People love talking to each other. Like, people really do want to be accepted. And like, the difficult part is, I think if you were to remove, like you said, social media from the equation, and if people were getting their information on the status of what their outside was like from their own experience, it'd be way different.
Yes. Yeah. Forgot to go through the comments I saw here.
Oh, hello.
Ray says, I wonder if there are studies on how relationships and marriage dynamics, sexual activity have changed because of the internet. I know that they are saying young single boys, but what about the young game and social media addicted people in marriages and look so different now more than social people?
Oh.
Yeah. It's not just young people. It's not. I didn't mean to
give me
that.
this one, TJ. Give me this one.
All right, cool. Go for it.
Okay, so we talked about dopamine seeking behavior. We talked about avoidance, which like both those things turn to escapism. My wife's ex-husband, the father of her 2 children, who are my fucking kids now. Okay.
Oh, like, shit. Damn. An alpha moment if I've ever seen one. All right.
Look, man, like when he can do what I do for those kids, he can also say he's dad. Okay. Like,
love it.
We fucking like this guy needs some time to cook, right? He's a little bit older than us. Will not get off the game to do stuff like even when like the kids are looking at it and seeing like, yeah, like dad won't get off, or dad will get mad, dad will throw controllers, like we can't interrupt dad during this time, right? Even other things like and it's not that like you can't be a gamer and do stuff, right? Like my wife
right.
Like, you know, like tonight after I do this, I'm gonna take a shower, hang out with my wife, we're gonna go do date night, right? We have this ritual of like we go get some ramen, we go to the bookstore, we talk to a couple people we know at the bookstore and the ramen shop, right? And like that's kind of what we do every week. But like, and then after that, when we come home, after we've, you know, spent some time together, she knows I'm gonna get on here, I'm gonna play with my idiot friends, right? And there's no problem there. There's no issues there. But like the moderation and the not using, you know, escapism is important. I've heard so many things of young people just when, for example, a video game can't say no to you. It can't upset you in the same way rejection can. So I have seen plenty of relationships fail because someone got too absorbed by the goddamn game. So
yeah. This is like Monty said that other bastard that he's talking about. Like, guys, like, yeah, these folks exist. Like, this is not something that is limited to young people. And you can actually see, as far as like the sexual activity, I haven't seen the polls on that, but I do know childbirth is declining as years go on and everything. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, it's too expensive to have children for a lot of folks. I got that too. Also, John and I were talking about a few weeks ago on the show, and someone brought up a great point, is that there's also a lot more shit to do now. Like 40, 50 years ago, your activities are limited. Now, any movie you want to watch at any time, you can listen to. Any song you want to hear, any game you want to play, you can have food brought to you from anywhere. Oh, Jesus, we're not going to have time to talk about online gambling and crypto and shit, and how that's got people. I don't know. Sometimes you ever hear someone like you respect, you're like, man, you're doing crypto, really? Like it's just like and that those dopamine hits do affect people who are married, people who already have kids and everything. But it's just that when it sinks its teeth into you at 18. It's way worse. Like there's no scenario in which that's better for your life. And then Johnny says every religion started out as one goofy cult. Ain't that the truth? And Treestop says they lean into the 35% when they get called out about the red pillars. Yeah, I hate that some of the stuff they say is good advice, because that's stuff that I give too. But then it gets kind of right-wing coded. And I don't know. I have a lot of complaints about leftist messaging. Maybe we can talk about that some other time. But I hate the fact that so much of leftist messaging is unnecessary. Unfortunately, almost necessarily academic. It's just stuff that language normal people don't speak. But a lot of it is just off-putting. And listen, leftists out there, this advice is for you too. Like, you guys think that we're only talking about angry, red-pilled, right-wing dudes, whatever, but you guys should go make some friends as well. I've talked to you before. I can tell you are not good at making friends. I've seen this. And unfortunately, a lot of people on the left, they'll wear this asocial behavior as a badge of honor. So that's right. I hate people. I think people are bad. I think that people are terrible. It's a good thing that the climate change is here because maybe then the humans will be gone and the earth can heal. It's just like, folks, no, what are we doing here? But you stopped me from going into it, but the obsession with the revolution that like it's the rapture, it's going to come and everything's going to be solved, folks. I hate to break it to you, if a revolution happened right now, we would lose hard fucking core. Okay, so yeah, I would love the revolution to come one day as well, but we have to work with what we have at the moment, right?
Well, also, like, I kind of appreciate bombs not falling on my house. I dig
Yeah,
that.
right. Yeah,
I like not having to look at every pile of trash on my way to work and go like, is that an IED? Is
yeah,
that an explosive device? Like,
Oh, that's a good. You
yeah.
know what? I love this. Unless you've actually served in the military and deployed, I don't want to hear you talk about revolution. I don't want to hear you saying a goddamn word unless you actually know how wars are fought or have some idea how wars are fought. But yeah. That's I want to go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, like, at the end of the day, right? Like, when it comes to leftists, like, the two things I wish they would understand, and like, I bully leftists all the time. Okay, like, that's like my bread and butter because
Your bread and butter.
I am hypercritical of my people. Okay,
Yeah.
like, that's where I'm at, right? Number one, right? Like, community is not who you want to be. Community is who is in proximity to you. That is community, right? That's who's there when the bombs drop, right? And then, like, number two, make the messaging simple. Okay, don't refer people to fucking books. Like,
right? Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's unfortunately like this is. People say that people on the right fall in line, but people on the left fall in love. I don't know if that's necessarily true based on what I've seen on the left these last few years and everything. That the right falls in line because I don't know, the advantage that right wingers have is that they're all essentially the same person. They're some sort of white Christian. That's pretty much 90% of them, right? They all have something in common there. They might be different flavors of conservatism or libertarianism, but more or less they get along. We are all over the map. I mean, try like to find a Marxist Leninist, versus a Maoist and see how they go at each other's throats for a world that can't exist for hundreds of years. Like, what are we fighting over this for? And we also have this. Unfortunately, being on the left means that you are an eternal loser. That's just part of the job, right? We lose all the time, and we know it. We have L's for hundreds of years, so we try to find the victories where we can, and the victories that we can get are ones in which we can dunk on other leftists by proving that we're smarter than they are, and we are obsessed with that. It happens all the time. So, like, we stop, okay? Like, I am not interested in anything like that. I want to find ways that we can unite and kind of join together. Another thing, if you want to preach about community and stuff, fine. What is your next door neighbor's name? Tell me the name of your next door neighbor. If you cannot tell me, I don't think you're really sold in this community thing at all. Let me see real quick. The so-called revolutionaries also can't stand that liberals have done more for Ukraine than they will ever. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Any it's at 90 minutes here, Monty. Any party thoughts on this entire thing here?
No, man, this has been really cool. I really appreciate it. It's been a fucking blast. Thank you for having me on. Otherwise, like, just like I just want people to role model what they want to do, right? Like, I think the whole crux of what we've been talking about is young men, right? Young men need to see other men leading them. You have to be something that they respect. That might mean presenting something you're uncomfortable with. Yep. However, like, you can really rescue a lot of dudes if you do the groundwork, like, with them on the ground floor. Just fucking role model what they need to see, baby step them off of whatever problematic platform they are, and do that by showing that, like, you can be a leader for them or someone that they should look up to, and then eventually they will come out the other side. More of us do that, we will be better off. So
I agree. Thank you folks for joining us, and we'll do our best to make this happen. Catch you guys later.
All right, bye.